mince pie, a carrot for Rudolph.
That's right.
Wanted to give milk for Santa, but I've always been said, look, everyone's giving milk. He wants a glass of wine. He needs a glass of wine, you know. But let me tell you, Kev, that was not what Christmas was like when I was a kid.
No way. I remember very early Christmas. There was no tree, no presents, no concept of Santa or anything like that. It was
So it was a very different Christmas. But we used to go to other people's houses for Boxing Day or whatever. And it used to be like a fake auntie or uncle.
And then by 10, I'd be out. And this was at 16 years old. I'd be home at midnight.
We're working social hours. Social hours before we were working, and we would get home from school and work till like 12 midnight or whatever it was.
10 bottles of hooch or whatever.
I was getting smacked in these 2 hours in the park. It's Christmas week, Kev.
My favourite time of year. Amazing.
Are you excited?
Yeah, I love it, mate. I love it. I've always have. Maybe not, always. There was a time when it wasn't so great, but I'm sure we're going to unpack all that. But yeah, for me now, I love Christmas. Boys love it. They still believe in Santa. But yeah, both are still fully on that train. So it's really good. Like I said, my favourite time of year.
I have decided, because Christmas week, to don our Christmas jumpers.
I've got mine. This is an Asda George special, actually. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, Will Ferrell did an ad campaign for Asda.
I know that.
It was huge.
I did not know that.
This is an Asda George special. £10. Can't go wrong.
Fantastic. I love a good Christmas jumper, right?
It's just all part of it, isn't it?
Before we crack on with the episode, tell us about your Christmas when you was, I'll tell you what, before we crack on with the episode, what do you do at Christmas now, Kev? You're a parent, you've got your own family. What's your Christmas traditions?
So this household is pretty big on Christmas. Carmen growing up never really had many Christmas memories. And she said it was only since we got together that she really started to appreciate Christmas. In this house, what we do each year is we have Christmas Eve boxes. You fill a Christmas Eve box with loads of stuff. I don't know where that tradition came from. It's probably only been in the recent years when those commercial vehicles of those conglomerates that are trying to make you buy everything and anything. Guess what? You need a Christmas Eve box. Do you do Christmas Eve boxes at yours?
Yeah, do Christmas. We have something similar, but not Christmas Eve.
Well, I like that. Yeah, you got a wooden box and then you just chuck loads of stuff in. It's not quite the presents that you give them on Christmas Day from Santa, but you give them loads of fun stuff to play with, fidget toys and puzzles and
smaller,
almost
you fill it off.
Hot chocolate, all that sort of stuff. So we'll do that on Christmas Eve. We'll leave out the milk and cookies for Santa and set up a camera to try and catch Santa, coming in the house and all this sort of stuff. And then then the boys go to sleep, and usually they're both quite good. They'll get themselves off to bed and asleep, and then Carmen and I will start wrapping the presents on Christmas Eve. Big rookie mistake, because we're always up till about 2 a.m. wrapping all their presents, and then we put them under the tree, ready for them to come down. Christmas Day comes, they come down, get a big surprise, unwrap a couple of toys, and then Carmen and I do the turkey here, and then we do the turkey. My mum starts doing the veg at her house, and then we'll take the turkey down from our house to hers. It's about a 45-minute drive, so the resting time for the turkey is perfect. When we turn up at her house, open the door, bring all the presents in, there's all the family there. We're at the crescendo of the day because we'll bring in the turkey, and then everyone knows it's ready for Christmas dinner. We'll drop the turkey in the middle of the table, all the veg around, and then thereafter it just turns into board games, Christmas songs in the background, watching rubbish telly, eating loads of chocolates, reminiscing about old times, and then opening presents with all the wider family and stuff. So it is a proper Christmas. So, and then
I love Christmas. I love Christmas too. I think it's more magical when you've got young children that are still into Santa, really the whole Christmas spirit. It makes you as a parent, as an adult, more magical. We do something similar on Christmas Eve. We don't have the boxes, but we have our little snack thing. We don't do cookies. We do a mince pie.
Oh, nice.
And we don't give mince pie, a carrot for Rudolph.
That's right.
Wanted to give milk for Santa, but I've always been said, look, everyone's giving milk. He wants a glass of wine. He needs a glass of wine,
Yeah.
I said, everyone's giving milk. He needs a bit of a kick. So we give him a glass of wine, mince pie, and the carrots.
No wonder Santa gives all the best presents at your house, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then we have, so Santa brings his presents.
Yes.
If they're good. Yeah. And when we have our presents are already nested under the tree.
Right.
So we have our presents and we carry on adding to the presents under the tree from December onwards, really. So if they're there, they're there. So it's almost kind of like tempting them like a little carrot to say, look, some presents are there, we're going to.
They've never ripped it.
They've been both really good. This morning, crack of dawn, we wake up to see if Santa's arrived and we go downstairs. Santa's quite often arrived, and when they open a couple of presents, and then we have Christmas at our house because Jan's family come over, my mum and dad come over, I'm an only child, they come over, and I get it all done in one day.
Nice.
So I'll do the cooking, and I'm one of these really anal cooks. I don't want anyone in the kitchen. I need to know where everything is, what the timings are. So I'll prepare quite a lot of it on Christmas Eve. We probably wake up at o'clock in the morning, maybe later now that Sanchez is a bit of a teenager. But we'll do some presents, then I'll start cooking until the rest of the family arrive and dribs and drabs. They'll play board games, and we have Christmas dinner around about 1:30, so it's late. And then we eat throughout. So we don't really even have another evening meal.
Well, that's something I've not thought about. It usually is about 1, and then we'll graze through till about 2:30. Then there's a massive gap for us because we start gorging on chocolates and drinking champagne, different stuff. On the night time, that's another big affair. We'll have lobster and seafood and all that.
So you do another big meal.
It's a massive meal as well. Normally, it'll be like lobster and all seafood. It's more Chinese then. It turns into like roast duck, lobster. It's huge as well, that meal.
Yeah. What time is that then?
That's probably about 8 o'clock.
So much later. Yeah.
I see.
So much later. So that's our Christmases now, where parents now have got our own little families. Well, let me tell you, Kev, that was not what Christmas was like when I was a kid.
No way. I think we've engineered it this way because we've kind of guilt tripped our parents to do the things that we wanted them to do as kids. And I think slowly, bit by bit, Christmas was added onto. I remember very early Christmas. There was no tree, no presents, no concept of Santa or anything like that. It was almost just like, wake up. It was the 2 days that our parents had off, your parents from the restaurant, my parents from the takeaways. They were like, right, we're going to stay in bed. These are our rest days. So it was like, don't you dare wake me up before 10 a.m. because nothing's happening in this house before 10 a.m. So you'd wake up on Christmas morning, right? And you'd hear about all the other kids having their presents and Christmas and Santa coming and all that. When in our house, it was just wait for mum and dad to get up.
Yeah.
And then it was totally different, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, now that you're reminiscing and describing all that it completely rings true for me. And I feel actually quite sad. As you said all of that, I feel really sad and feel a bit sorry for myself, really.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if I felt that sorry for myself. That was just the way of life.
It was way of life. It was. And I think at 7 was when I started to realize, because obviously you'd have a reception where people would talk about Christmas and you'd start to understand about the world. By year 2, you'd have like 3 years in a row of people talking about this thing called Christmas and getting presents from this guy called Santa. But then you'd realize, I don't have that in my house. So I remember saying to my mom, why don't we have Christmas? And I think the next year, I got a wrapped present from Santa. The year after that, we got a tree. The year after that, we had a turkey. The year after that, we had Christmas songs on. And bits of Christmas were bolted on year after year. Up until like 14 was when it felt like, now I've manufactured and generated my own Christmas in a BBC or British-born Chinese household. It wasn't by tradition that it was passed down to me. I had bolted stuff on to make Christmas a reality for myself. Do you know what I mean? And my sibling.
That's what you said about the 2 days off. And the reason why they only had 2 days off is because when everybody is finishing their normal 9-to-5 jobs and breaking up for the Christmas festive period, those were the busiest days for takeaways and restaurants. Right. And so we were at the age of 8, 9, 10, 11, helping out in the restaurant and the takeaways.
Yeah.
And actually, those were the busiest days. At the time, I thought, I mean, that's just pure child labor. But I didn't think, thinking about it, it's blatant child labor. But now we understand the reasons why we didn't have the lives that we had, and if our parents didn't do all those things. So now looking, I appreciate it. And then, yeah, so it was a very different Christmas. And then you'd go to, I don't know if it was the same for you. I think it sounds like you've got a much bigger family that's closer by than we did. But we used to go to other people's houses for Boxing Day or whatever. And it used to be like some, a fake auntie or uncle.
Yeah, we'd have to do the rounds. We would call it doing the rounds, where you'd like, right, get in the car. We're going to go visit this person, that person. Some of them would be immediate family, and some of them would be extended family, etc. And then, like you mentioned, the fake aunties and uncles that you would just, you'd call them auntie and uncle, but they were just close family friends.
Yeah,
so there was all that. But yeah, you're right. Even working on Christmas Eve, I'd be working right up until 10 o'clock on Christmas Eve. And actually, when I was in my early teens, 13, 14 maybe, it was fine. But then at 15, 16, my mates were going out. They were going out and doing underage drinking and things. And I'd be like, I'm missing out on all this fun. I'd work until 9, half 9. I'd do some sort of deal with my dad where I'd be like, right, I'm working till 9:30. Then I'd go home, have a shower. And then by 10, I'd be out. And this was at 16 years old. I'd be home at midnight. And those 2 hours, I could do some serious damage.
You're going to make up for it, right? Yeah. But the good thing about working at such a young age was actually I probably had more money than any of my peers.
Yeah.
At the time.
That's
so
right.
They were getting like pocket money and stuff like that. But I was earning like $1 for, do you know what I mean? For my age.
My dad definitely had me on a $5 a night. Now, back in the night, I don't know if that was good, bad.
Yeah, I can't remember how much it was. I felt richer than some of my friends, only because I was working my ass off at like 11 years old.
Yeah, I remember it. I've worked in most stations. My dad did have restaurants as well. I remember washing up at 7 and getting paid a couple of quid, and then then the next route would be a waiter for a little bit. So I'd be a 9-year-old waiter. I don't think I ever went on the woks and the fryers until I was in my early teens.
I've done all of those. I remember pouring pints at like 15, 16, and people laughing and questioning, "Are you even old enough?" Like pouring a brick pint at 15, 16, like the bar. That's just a way of life, right? And then you do that, and then someone, the fryer needs money, so then you get onto the fryer, and then there's not enough pots, so you put your little apron on, and then you're washing pots, and it was just the way of life. At the time, I probably thought, what is this shit show?
Christmas was the nights where you did everything. You'd be a waiter, you'd be a barman, you'd be everything, wouldn't you? Like, that you were front of house, you were back of the house, you were frying, you were doing everything, because those were the busiest nights. Now that I've built this Christmas, not just myself, but my brother and sister as well, we've made this Christmas happen for us. It's been some of the best times has been at Christmas. It's like one of the best memories for sure.
It's because we've broken that tradition. Well, I think mostly it's because we don't have those types of jobs anymore. We types of jobs, and so therefore we're working social hours. Before we were working, we would get home from school and work till like 12 midnight or whatever it was. We don't have that anymore, and I don't think our kids would ever fully appreciate the kind of shit that we went through as children. They would have a heart attack if they even did a proportion of the shit that we did as an 11-year-old.
I would love to see Hayden's face if I said to him, "Guess what? It's Christmas Eve, and you're going to be pulling a 4-hour shift behind that counter and do some of the work we used to do on that fryer." He'd be like, "This is some kind of sick joke," because it felt like a sick joke at the time, didn't it?
Yes, it did. But looking back now, as a 40-year-old parent to 2 kids, I don't think I would change it either. That work ethic that you gave us couldn't be taught.
No, exactly that.
The work ethic that we had at that age was phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. And it taught you to appreciate. So Christmas Eve, right? Like I said, I had 2 hours to have the most fun that I could. And it makes you appreciate those 2 hours more. Because some of my mates have been freezing their asses off in the park, waiting for me to come out since like 6, 7 o'clock. And they didn't appreciate it. I was like, right, I'd earned this. I've earned these 10 bottles of hooch or whatever.
I was getting smashed in these 2 hours in the park.
Exactly. It makes you appreciate the things that you don't have. And then when you do get them, it makes you appreciate them that a lot more. Christmas for me is a great time. And I feel like it's good. Yeah. Our kids, because they've grown up with it.
I think the expectation of Christmas is very different for our kids compared to when we were kids. We appreciate every little ounce of Christmassy shit that we got.
Absolutely.
Every tiny little thing. If we got a selection box, if we got a selection box, we're like, what? Someone gave me a selection box. Like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. Like, I love a selection box anyway. But like, the kids nowadays, you give them a selection box, they just add it to the pile of the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And Christmas has got bigger and bigger every year. It's just becoming a ridiculous thing. We know friends that spend, I don't know what the going rate is for spending on your kids these days, depending on, what you earn, I'm guessing. But some of these guys, they'll be spending £1,000 per child in their household. That for me isn't, maybe it's because I grew up without any presents whatsoever, that now I feel like £1,000 per child is excessive. We've got off lightly this year. The boys have asked Santa for different things and they've been kind to Santa this year. Santa's not going to have too much of a big job this year, which is good.
Every year now.
Yeah.
It gets harder because the older they get, the less you've got to buy them.
The smaller the presents get as well.
The smaller presents. When Jamie and Natasha were 7 and 3 or 4 and 8, and it was like half our room was covered in little boxes and from other people's and whatever, and little boxes. This year, I even said to you, I said, it's looking a bit light this year, isn't it? That's because they've got smaller, better than thin bennies, but smaller, right? And so I felt a little bit sad looking at that. It's not that it's more compact and everything just gets a little bit more expensive every year. Is this the end? Is this the start of the end of that magical era?
I think it will.
It's really, but then, I mean, we're almost living Christmas through the eyes of our kids now, Kev.
Yeah, we are living Christmas through the eyes of our kids because of the things that we didn't have growing up. And I feel like the longer that I can keep the magic for the kids is exactly
longer that you get the magic, right?
Yeah, well, this is it.
That's it, right? Because we've got friends whose kids are 16, 17.
Yeah,
and Christmas is a completely different affair.
Oh yeah,
for their house.
Yeah,
and I'm just not looking forward to a day where it's the Christmas isn't as when Christmas it just isn't as magical anymore. On Christmas morning, the friends who've got 15, 16-year-olds, they don't get up till about 11.
I remember making that shift from being a child to a teenager that would hang out in the park to a fully grown adult who would get legally pissed on Christmas Eve and not get up until 11 and say, oh, well, I remember because we'd built up Christmas for a number of years and my mum really looked forward to seeing our faces light up on Christmas as well. And then she only had a couple of years of it because we didn't have it when we were growing up. She had it from like 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe like 7 years of it. And then all of a sudden she had a teenager who was more interested in going out and getting drunk. It was very different. So if I can hold on to it for many years, I will. But I suspect Natasha's also 11, isn't she? And Hayden's 9. So I think they are at that age where
they're on the way. They're on the, which is really sad. I mean, it spurred the moment where and I were thinking of another one. Just for deal with again. By the way, you miss those so much that you want to relive it again, but you can't live it again. You've just got to appreciate the stuff that's happening now in the present. It's not. You're never going to get it back.
No, exactly that.
Yes.
I mean, let's ask some questions about your own Christmases then. So what's your best Christmas memory? Like your own Christmas memory, not like with the kids.
We didn't have much of a Christmas day.
Yeah.
But I did get presents. My mum and dad did get the presents. We didn't have a tree for a while.
Right.
We never did any of the Christmas traditions. Santa wasn't talked about. But I got presents, but it was never wrapped.
Yeah, no.
It was just there on the side. There was no surprise. It was like, there's your present. It is like a remote control car or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was a decent present, but there was no element of tradition or surprise or anything like that. So there was no magic. It was just mum and dad buying me something.
That's exactly the same in our house. I'll always remember, this was probably my best present. The first ever Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES.
Wow, that's a pretty good one.
And I was like, what, maybe 6, something like that? And my dad had maybe 7, something like that. I think it was the first year that I'd said to my parents, oh, we don't get presents in this house, do we, for Christmas? And then lo and behold, Christmas morning came, went downstairs.
Oh, bless him.
And there it was, unwrapped, obviously, just like, a NES just there. And I was like so excited, ran upstairs and said, Dad, did you buy me the NES? Yeah, I did. Can you just let me rest for a little bit longer? Go down and set up. Yeah. There was no hugging or anything. It was more like, yeah, I got you. That was probably my best present in terms of...
Very practical. It was a very practical type of Christmas.
Yeah.
I think the fact that we've created our own versions of Christmas traditions, that your kids, your boys, and especially Jamie, they will have their own versions of Christmas and they'll have inherited it from you.
Yes. And that's what I'm looking forward to, because they're the first generation within our families where they've not had to have that sad reality of building their own Christmas and building their own reality of Christmas. They're just growing up with it because we've given them that. And they're going to carry that through into their families as well. So yeah, I'm really happy for that, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Well, Chris, is one of those times when you see your family all together. Do you see your family all together on the same day?
Yeah, we do my side of the family on Christmas Day, and then we stay over at my mum's on Christmas night.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So you do stay over?
Yeah, we stay over, and then Boxing Day is when we come back up and spend the time with Carmen's family. We've built another tradition. We go for a family meal. The younger generation goes for a family meal now. Myself, my brother, his little baby, and my sister-in-law. And then we'll meet with cousins, etc. as well, that are all of the similar age. And we'll just go out together and have a meal. That's Boxing Day.
But when do you do that?
It's Boxing Day evening in Newcastle.
So Christmas is out of the way. Boxing Day comes. Is this the Boxing Day tradition to replace the clubbing night?
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the infamous Manchester M2 for clubbing nights.
Oh, right. Yeah, I am talking about that, but I thought that happened everywhere anyway.
No. That was a Northwest thing, mate. Yeah.
I thought every city had one of those dudes. No. That was a Manchester thing.
Yeah, it was, because it was
took that for granted then.
It wasn't even it wasn't a Northeast thing. It wasn't even a Midlands thing. I've got a few groups of friends in different places.
Right.
But that was quite infamous because people would travel from afar.
You realise that? And we took it for granted. Like, for us, as a 20-something or 30, Boxing Day was the night, was like the clubbing night that everyone...
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realise that was a Manchester Northwest thing.
My mum used to hate it because I'd be out with friends on a Christmas Eve and then I'd come home hungover on Christmas Day. Then she'd at least get a little bit of me on Boxing Day, and then I'd be out again on Boxing Day, straight to the Northwest to get drunk again.
No, that's good. Well, long live our Christmas traditions that we've built out ourselves and carved out of nothing.
These are our Christmases that we've manufactured and given to our kids. We've got to be proud of that for sure.
Cool. Listen, Kev, have a wonderful Christmas.
You too. All the best to you and yours, and have a great time. I'm sure we'll be in touch over that Christmas period as well.
Have a good Christmas, everyone.
All the best, everyone.